All right, hello fourth graders. It is time to paint as long as you have drawn a seascape that has repeated lines both in your sky and in your waves. Um, if you are ready to paint, we are going to start by doing the waves with the cool colors. Now, cool colors are pretty dark, so I'm going to tell you a couple different ways that you can tell the difference between these colors. Number one, I will put a paper on the table so that if you need to test a color out, you can test a color out. Two, I will have this poster bigger on my board so that you can look and see what a color is going to look like on your paper, on your white paper. So yellow, green, green, turquoise, turquoise, blue. I think those are the same ones. Blue, green, blue, violet. Blue. I didn't white that out. Blue, violet, purple, red, violet, and brown. So those are the colors we have the opportunity to use today. If you're not looking at the poster, I also have labeled the cups. So if you can pick up the cup very gently because we don't want to spill this. I have labeled the cup and I have a little that says green and there's a little color swatch there for you as well. The other thing that I tell you is that you can always swish carefully, but sometimes accidents occur when we do this. So try to use two hands. Swish carefully and then right on the edge of the paint, it will kind of creep down the plastic slowly. You can see the color. So the objective is that we use more than one cool color. So hopefully we worked hard on these drawings. They look really nice. We're not going to take our picture, pick one color of blue and just start painting it in. Because although your drawing looks very interesting, that does not do anything to make your picture more interesting. So I would like it if you can pick different cool colors to paint your picture in. Okay, just like you repeated the lines, we could repeat the colors. It could be all different colors. It could be a pattern. I'm going to teach you how to do a wet on wet or how to do it dry. Dry, let it dry, and then go ahead and paint again. So when you are painting, some people like to move this a little bit closer. That's okay, but we do need to kind of share. This is liquid, obviously, so you want to dip your brush in, but you don't want to drip this across to your paper. So you want to make sure that you dip, and then you just kind of wipe that extra liquid off on the lip of the cup. You would have this sitting down. So dip, and then wipe the extra off. The color that I'm using now is blue violet. I love this color. It's so pretty. It's almost more of a purpley, but it's really pretty. So right now, this paper soaks up that, I know this is just our fundraising paper. It really does soak up the liquid watercolor pretty quick, but it's still not quite dry. So if I was to go on to my next wave, I would need to be careful because if this is not dry when I go to paint my second wave, it will kind of blend together. So I'm going to let this dry and maybe work on my big wave or my bottom waves or my palm tree before I paint that middle wave. All right, one thing that I do notice is sometimes we get I don't know if we paint the same area a lot at one time, but we get kind of a paint puddle. If that happens, okay, you're just going to soak up the extra ink onto your paper towel. Just kind of dab it and blot it, and that will help to keep any drips when we go to put our picture on the drying rack off of your paper. So again, I'm just going to finish up this little section. I love liquid watercolors. I love watercolors because it naturally kind of leaves this light and dark. So when it's completely 100% dry, you could go back in and add some darker sections, maybe a different color if you think it's gonna layer well. If I were to go ahead and do my second wave, I would just want to be really, really careful. I'm going to use turquoise so that it really creates like two different colors. You would just want to be careful because this is drying fast, but it's still a little bit wet. I'll show you what that does in a minute. So we would just, oops, I added a different color, blue. That's all right. I'm going to rinse my brush out. When you rinse, make sure that you're rinsing, touching the bottom, not stirring the pot too much, but rinse, touch the bottom. Okay, pat, don't tap so that you're not getting other friends' papers messy. Okay, and then grab some more paint. There we go. That's the right color. And keep going. Now, that's kind of painting like dry, letting it dry a little bit, painting it again, and it keeps the colors pretty separated. If you want more of a blended look, kind of like I describe it as tie-dye look, then you can add some clear water to your paper. You can paint while the paint is still wet. So if I were to do this with my waves, if it came over the top while this was not dry yet, it kind of has like almost like little veins there that kind of reach out just because it's touching something that's wet and it's a wet liquid itself. So if I want to do it on purpose, great. If you don't, then you need to make sure that this is a little bit dry and then you go carefully so that it doesn't give you that tie-dye look. If you want that tie-dye look, then you can either paint with a color, so maybe I'll start with turquoise. I want this whole kind of wave to look kind of fuzzy, so I'm just going to kind of throw some liquid on there, some turquoise, okay, and then I might add some blue, kind of filling my white spots in first. Okay, if it's not bleeding enough, this paper is really absorbing the paint. So you just kind of want to, without making a puddle, just add some water and then real quick get your paint in there. There we go. We don't want to make too much of a puddle because then when we put that on the drying rack, it's going to drip, 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 drip. I'm going to add some blue violet because those are kind of the colors that I was using. So I think that, you know, wet onto wet is beautiful. It does add like a fuzzy layer. It just depends on what you're going for with your waves. You could do that here and go into another color and so on. The last thing you can do is you can add some details. So you could go back in and even add some purple, little lines to show the direction of the water. And it's going to add a second layer. You could do it with the same color because by adding a second layer, it's also going to make it darker. Okay. And that's it. I did put brown into your cups in case you wanted or did a volcano or a palm tree, but you do want to switch it up to probably a smaller brush so that you don't get out of those lines as easily. All right, so just remember to dip, wipe the brush on the lip of the paint. Be careful if you're lifting it up. Really try to be careful and use two hands. Let the paint dry while if you want it to be one color, no bleeding or blending. If you want it to blend and bleed, then you want to get the color on when it's wet. You can add some clear water here. All right, your turn. Good luck.